Hey everyone, my name is Darius, and today I want to give you a full tour of all my aquariums. I currently have 10 aquariums and 2 ponds, and we're going to take a look at each system from smallest to largest. Starting off, I have two 20-gallon tanks side by side. My goal is to make all my aquariums as simple as these two tanks. It's currently October of 2024, and so far this year I've only done 4 water changes on these tanks. These tanks are the perfect example of a balanced ecosystem, where the natural light grows the plants remove fish waste and produce oxygen for the fish, and the fish provide nutrition for the plants. Life in this tank is simple but abundant. I started with just 4 cherry barbs, and now I have close to 30 individuals. I also have a blue opaline gourami in this tank. The aquatic plants like the Amazon swords and the crypts provide oxygen for the fish, while the terrestrial peace lily and lucky bamboo remove the most nitrates from the tank. The second tank is always harder to film because of the glare. I recently removed loads of Java fern from this tank because the fish were running out of space to swim. In this tank I have a male paradise gourami along with an assortment of platies. I feed these tanks once daily, usually tropical flake food, but occasionally I'll feed them frozen bloodworms. This is my third 20-gallon aquarium, and this tank is my basement fish room. All the Java fern in this tank was taken from the previous 20-gallon tank, along with most of the platies. I have a juvenile flagtail Progilodus in here, that's about 4 inches. I kept this fish before and it was huge. These guys develop great personalities and are also great algae eaters. I also have silver dollar fish in here. They're very shy, but I have 2 common silver dollars, and I have 2 sea tiger silver dollars, which are very uncommon. Soon I will transfer all these fish into the 125-gallon next door, where they will have a lot more space to swim and be seen. I just need to rescape the tank in a way to make the fish feel as safe as possible with the larger cichlids. Next I have my 40-gallon reef tank. This tank is not in the fish room. I was trying to keep this tank a secret for a full year so that I could make a 1-year progression video, but there's just too much going on and I may have to release that video sooner than I anticipated. My goal with this tank was to recreate the balancing in the first 2 tanks that I showed you earlier, where plants help lower the maintenance level of the tank. I'm growing macroalgae, which is a saltwater plant, to help remove nitrates that the fish produce. So far, growing macroalgae hasn't been as easy as growing freshwater plants, but it's a challenge that I needed to maintain my excitement in the hobby. I have an assortment of corals that are growing nicely for the most part, along with a sea anemone, some snails, and hermit crabs. As for fish, of course, I have Nemo and his female companion. I have a Springer damselfish, a diamond watchman goby, I have a spot-tailed blenny, and my favorite, I have a yellow candy hogfish. The fish coexist well together, and I think I'll add maybe 1 or 2 more fish to complete the stock. Overall, this tank has rekindled my drive to learn more and become more efficient at fish keeping. From 40 gallons, we jumped to one of 3 125-gallon aquariums back in the fish room. You already saw this tank, which houses my beautiful male Vieja fasciatus, which is about 10 inches long, and a female Vieja zonatus, which is about 5 inches long. The plan was to let them pair and spawn, but the male isn't interested in the female. By themselves, these 2 fish are very timid and easily spooked, so that's why I plan to add the neighboring fish to this tank. The Vieja are not predators and will not likely try to eat the smaller fish, but my main concern is that the smaller fish will just panic when mixed with the bigger fish and attempt to jump out or become stressed. To prevent that, my plan is to add a lot more rocks and wood into the tank to create clutter and hiding spots for the smaller fish, which should make them feel more comfortable and allow them to successfully coexist. Mixing all these fish together should benefit everyone by giving the smaller fish room to grow and by creating dither fish for the cichlids to become more comfortable. The next 125-gallon houses Indonimus, my Jaguar Dovi hybrid cichlid. He's currently about 13 inches long and still very territorial. I do want to upgrade his tank. This 125 gallon isn't terrible, being 18 inches wide and 6 feet long, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind an extra 6 inches in depth and 4 inches in height inside a 180 gallon tank. Until then, Indonimus will faithfully patrol this 125. On top of Indonimus, we have a 125 gallon Garage tank. This tank houses a trio of black-chin tilapia, 2 Vieja Spilum. They're from 2 collection points, so they have slightly different colors. I have a carpenter cichlid, a red jewel cichlid, a Cribboharris rostratus cichlid, a blue flash cichlid. I have some giant Danio, 4 banded leperinus, and a panther crab. Once the leperinus are big enough, I want to add them to my 350 gallon aquarium. Some of the cichlids will be moved to different tanks and some will stay in this tank, but I'm not certain which ones I'll move at this time. These guys do fight at times, but honestly I'm impressed with how balanced the aggression is. No one is overly bullied or stressed, and everyone is growing nicely. We leave the fish room to see my third biggest tank, my 210 gallon tank. This tank has a nice assortment of fish, but I need to make some changes to ensure that everyone is happy. I have 9 Australian rainbow fish in this tank that are forced to stay in the shadows because my favorite fish in the tank, my African tiger's cat, he hates them and will attack them whenever he gets the chance. I think this tank will look so much better if the rainbow fish could swim openly and show their colors, so the plan is to remove the tiger's cat. I want to add him to my 350 gallon tank, but he may be too small to eat the foods that I feed to that tank, so instead I'll add him to the previous 125 gallon tank. Once he's gone, my rainbow fish should become a lot more active and bring more color to the scene. The tank does have some unwanted and bonus cichlids. They are beautiful, and for the most part they keep their aggression among themselves, but they reproduce too easily, and if I don't remove them, I'll be back to square one with a full African cichlid tank. Eventually I'll find the motivation to tear the tank apart and catch all of them. Besides that, I love the movement in this tank. It's the perfect vibe for my office. To the fish room we return to look at my 350 gallon aquarium. I have some beautiful New World cichlids, including a male black belt cichlid and a Vieja bifasciatus, which is the brother of the fish that we saw earlier. I have 2 Vieja fenestratus, a pink variant and a normal, and I believe both of them are females. I have 2 female festae. Indonimus' sister lives in here, along with a female dovi and a female starry night cichlid. Then I have 3 wide bar silver dollars, an African big-eyed catfish, and a striped Raphael catfish. This tank has a nice selection of fish, but I hate seeing fish crammed into the corner. This is because of unnecessary fish hatred. You have aggression, which is normal, then you have hatred, which is what I'm seeing with my Parachromis species. The fish in the corner would rather stay in the corner than be harassed by the female dovi hybrid, who is persistent with her harassment. My solution is to rehome the hybrid and the dovi. Even though the dovi is the victim in this case, if given a chance, she would show the same amount of hatred. My festae also fall into the category of hateful fish, but I've wanted female festae for so long that I'm going to turn a blind eye for as long as I can. I have 2 females, and they don't look identical, so I'm sure that eventually they'll both be trophy fish. Removing the Parachromis should ease up tension in the tank so that everyone can swim freely, and eventually my silver dollars, my leperinus, and my flagtail will be big enough to add to this aquarium. My final aquarium is the big one, my 880 gallon plywood aquarium that we built just over 4 years ago. The fish are some of the biggest fish I've ever kept or grown, and I've raised all of them from juveniles. I have my biggest fish, my Cyclotamensis peacock bass, that is over 2 feet in length and is relatively peaceful. There's no need to fight when you're that big. She's about 5 years old. We have a female Cycla monoculus, which is the oldest fish in the tank at about 7 years old, and she's between 18 and 20 inches long. My Cycla azul is a younger male that grew fast. He's about 4 years old, and he's around the same size as my female mono. I have a Cycla orinoco that's about 16 inches at 5 years old, and I have a young Cycla mono male that's about 4 years old, and he's around 15 inches long. The next biggest fish is my Mesoharis geoffrius, a fish that's in the same family as the Feste cichlid. He's about 14 inches long and he's pretty tall, and he's about 5 years old. My Crinus cichlid lenticulata pike is about 14 inches long, and she's about 6 years old. I have two 4-line pictus catfish that are both about 12 inches, and a Polypterus elacheroid bichir that's 12 to 13 inches, that I'll take out pretty soon just to make this a fully South American aquarium. My male Cycla mono is the problem fish of the tank with his aggression, but it's not to the point where he causes too much stress. Eventually I would like to add one of my female Feste to this tank, and maybe my silver dollars once they're big enough, but that will most likely take a few years for them to become big enough to not be considered fish food. The last stop is in my backyard. I have a pond that's approximately 1,000 gallons. It's 2:30 in the afternoon on a fall day, and the pond is getting direct sunlight, revealing clear water and a colorful fish. I have a few types of goldfish, including shubunkin, comets, and apricots, along with some rosy red minnows and some native species of shiner. The fish are preparing for the colder months to come, in which they will hibernate, not eating for almost the entire winter. I'm trying to bulk them up, feeding almost 3 times a day so that they can be prepared. It always seems like during the colder months their colors intensify. Surrounding the pond, fall is evident with red leaves on the creeping jenny and a fiery bloom from the cardinal plant. So now I'll trim off all the plants and cover the pond with a net to catch the fallen leaves. I do have another pond that I use for outdoor summer projects like breeding or quarantine. It's currently being used to quarantine some goldfish that I bought in the spring. These goldfish were treated for parasites and diseases and then bulked up in size to be used as feeder fish for my predators. I don't feed live foods often. If my fish are lucky, they'll get 2 live feedings a year. I don't share my live feedings because I know it's a controversial topic, but I do believe that there are benefits to occasionally feeding live foods. If you would like to see a live feeding, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll share that video along with the pros and cons. So that's been a look at all my aquariums as of today. I will be making some changes within the next few months as mentioned in this video, all in the effort to better the aquarium experience for the fish and for myself. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.